All right, so I'm a stupid dog. The producer, he calls me up. He says, "Hey, I want you to do a take," and I'm just a stupid dog. What I was trying to do was participate in the process. I was trying to get out ahead of the producer. I was trying to do a little research and try to think for myself. I'm a stupid dog, but I have enough corpuscles in my mind annoyed. With my dog remembrance to search to try to go on my own tangent, try to do my own thing. And I heard this funny thing. It's in the peripheral. The man goes to sleep by either watching clips of Donald Trump speeches or not the Joe Rogan. Kill Tony. Okay. So it's Kill Tony's in my brain. So I was like, I got to do the Kill Tony thing, a take on a Kill Tony situation. Well, the producer calls me up and says, no, you're not doing a take on the Kiltony situation. You're going to do a take on Dan Soder. I said, okay, good. I'm a stupid dog. I'll do a take on Dan Soder and whatever the regs, and I'll do one on Kiltony simultaneously because I got this thing in my head about Kiltony. Okay, the producer, he's like, don't you make me hang up. Don't you make me hang this phone up. But if I hang this phone up, you're going to feel like you're a mokes. You're going to feel like a moron. You're going to feel like you're so stupid, I don't have time for you. I was like, hey, what are you, stupid? The man doesn't treat me like this. I'm not going to take it off the producer, and the producer had already hung up. He didn't even hear what I said. He already hung up because I rebelled against him. The producer likes to hang up in your ear that way. He thinks it's better that way, whatever. I was like, wow, whew. So many stupid dogs. So I started thinking, I want to do a certain post from watching. I don't really watch the Kill Tony, but I'm just trying to sleep on my carpet in front of the TV, and the man loves the Kill Tony. He's watching the Kill Tony, but it seeps into my subconscious that way. But also, I had this revelation about Dan Soder, which I will share with everybody. All of a sudden, the phone rings. The producer says, do you understand that I want you to do a take on the skanks? And once you mix up Dan Soder with the skanks and this, that, the other thing, you ruin everything. And I was like, I had a thing. I wanted to do a take. Listen, man, you should not disturb the talent. Maybe the talent will bomb. But the talent's ready to work the next day, the next hour. So what you got? The producer had already hung up on me again. I was like, oh my God, the producer didn't hear anything I said. He already had hung up. So I went back to work because I'm a worker. The dog is a worker, if nothing else. I'm like, I'm going to do this take because somehow I got confused because the man had told me that Dan Soder appeared on this series I was watching. I thought it was out of Canada. It was called Billions. Billions. I don't know if thought it was because it was another series that was out of Canada. I don't even know. But somehow I thought it was, but the name was Billions, even though it was set in Manhattan. Manhattan. I was like, this looks like the French quarters of Manhattan. This does not look like Manhattan. First off, it's flat, and also it's all ritzy brownstones and, quaint, big old streets that they knew. They had to have horse-drawn this, that, the other thing. Horses they had to have out there. So they were pretty nice wide thoroughfares, all right? Modernly, they connected. They could park cars, and especially little BMWs and all Mercedes, where they used to have horse-drawn wagons running up and down either side of the street. But and all of a sudden the phone rang. I was like, oh my God, it was the producer. The producer's like, hey, do you understand that I'm going to veto this, and I'm going to blackball it, and I'm going to, whatever you say when you cut it, and it's going to wind up in the cutting room floor? And I was like, the producer, you can't blackball me. You cannot just veto what I do. You cannot just take my take and throw it out. You have to post it. Listen, that's what it is when you're like a recess or romper room kind of a YouTube channel that's never going to make anybody a nickel. You don't get your shit. Your shit gets put on. That's one thing you got as the talent. I was like the dog. I'm like, the talent over here. The talent understands. You can't, maybe it'll bomb, but you got to give me the right to see if I bomb. If I take the time to make this freaking take, you're going to post it, producer, or I'll find a new producer. You know what I'm saying? The producer didn't even hear one word I said. He had already hung up. This guy, he's got the quickest trigger. He's like Matt Dalton out in the Wild West shooting it out. You know what I'm saying? He won everything, every draw, every high noon confrontation, every duel. He's like, quick trigger. And he didn't hear nothing I said. So finally I said, all right. I asked the producer over in those conversations. I didn't get into all that. What I could have done to try to make this thing work. And the producer wasn't having it. He's a dictatorial wannabe producer, so whatever. So I said to myself, okay, the guy who pulled his pants down was Ari Shaffir. Ari Shaffir. And the guy who was sitting at the desk was Sam Morril, named after the famous delicious mushroom that everyone hunts. Sam Morril. It's like if you were named Germany. Donald Trump always said, if your lawyer's name is Germany, you hire that man. If no one else is giving this guy a big ticket, Donald Trump said you give the big ticket to the lawyer that's last name is Germany. Sam Morril, it's got to be special. Even though, whatever. But Sam Morril had a seat right next to Kill Tony, and when Ari Shaffir came in, you know what he did? Because he's Jewish. It's only because he's Jewish. This is not an anti-Semitic take. But he pulled his pants down. He stripped off. First, I was like, he's going to just do a striptease. That's really, really, and everybody in the crowd was like, yes, this guy is striptease. No one could thought it. He looked like Chiquita Banana. It was captivating. It was royal. Everybody was like, this is fire. Everybody thought it was great. But then he had to pull his raunchy, stinky, hash-stained underwears down that he got off of like a Canadian friggin' lumberjack. He won them underwear off a Canadian lumberjack in a poker game, in a blind draw poker game. Okay? Ari, and that's again, all that was not because you wouldn't even bring Jewishness into it. Once Ari, what'd he do? He had to pull his pants all the way down to his ankles, and shake his dick at everybody, including he really beat up on poor old Sam Morril with his big giant gonads. Everybody says his gonads are so long, it looks like two water balloons that somebody was going to throw at somebody, and they forgot. They were sitting around, they looked like two water balloons that somebody put water in a long time ago, thought they were going to ambush somebody. They forgot about him. They didn't. The ambush didn't happen. They forgot about him. They were sitting around for a month. That's what his testicles looked like. Two water balloons that somebody forgot about for a month and a half. But the other thing that bugged me, because I'm a stupid dog, this bugged me, Ari was a plant. Ari had to pull out his testicles and his penis and wave them around twice, I mind you. But he was a plant, and Kill Tony, he played it off like he wasn't a plant. And then the other thing that was really, really disconcerting, even though this began with talking about the guy from Billions, Dan Soder, because somehow the producer said to me, it wasn't even the man, the producer said, do you realize that the guy we're talking about is on this, it's not a sitcom, it's a series. It began in 2013. I think it's even canceled. It's with the guy who went in the wine tasting movie, stars in it. No one else knows who stars in it. No one ever heard of these people before, except for the guy who went on the wine tasting thing. Also, season 2, whatever you did to this poor girl's face, his wife, the bangs, don't close that face off. Let that face have an entrance and an exit. See what I'm saying? It's better that way. Ari, he was a plant. And I knew he was. And I was really, really watching the whole Billions thing and the producer had called me up and said, don't you realize that Dan Soder is the yuckity yuck sidekick comic relief? He plays like the Joker or the fool. He plays the clown. And I was like, what? I don't even understand what you're saying. And the producer says, Dan Soder, the guy off of the regs. Now on the regs, he hides behind his baseball cap because he's embarrassed and he's a little ashamed that he's not bald. All right? Because he's not bald. He has bald envy. He wears a baseball cap. The bald guys, they shave their heads, they're bald. Jeg Gamas and the other guy, Fatty Arbuckle's newest iteration, the necklace one. This kid, I don't even know. This kid looks like the guy who was eating the turnbuckles during the early WWF days, in the old days with Jim McMahon doing the wrestling thing. He was called George the Animal Steel. George the Animal didn't have a neck either. Whatever. It's all right. But Dan Soder, he was the guy in the Billions that did a little bit of I forget, it's not called comic relief. Maybe it is. It's like you take a little aside, and there's a guy who's got the captivation, but he's playing a mokes, a dipshit, a douchewad, but anything, you still want to know him. You still, you're drawn to him. He's got that it factor. He's a big, lanky fool with a terrible haircut, and he's got that it factor anyways. That was Dan Soder. And I realized I love that guy in the Billions. I didn't know he was on the rigs, but that was because he was hiding under a baseball cap because he's got, whatever you call it, bald envy. He's afraid because he's not bald. But to get back to the whole point about the Kill Tony, Ronald McDonald's troglodytic cousin, who was a crackhead, not even going, no, he wasn't even doing meth, he was straight up crackhead. Ronald McDonald's, he didn't have that. He had the ADHD thing where you can't really concentrate and you're kind of a little bit off. He said, Ronald McDonald looked at Kill Tony during the Kill Tony episode. And that guy, he was pretty cool because he had a kind of a good set, and then he was entertaining. Kill Tony couldn't get him off stage. Kill Tony could not get him off stage. And he looks like, again, Ronald McDonald, the iteration, like a psychedelic Ronald McDonald, but he's like the guy It or something who hides in the sewer and tries to kill kids. He would laugh like a witch. He would throw his head straight back. He laughed, cackled like a witch. And it was like how the Peanuts characters, like Linus and Charlie Brown, used to throw their heads back and just guffaw with laughter. Guffaw, you know what I'm saying? Guffaw. But anyways, Ronald McDonald said, "You invited me on the show, Kill Tony." And Kill Tony is like, "No, it's a bucket pull. We're just pulling your name out of a bucket. No one knew who you are." Everyone's like, the first guy comes out, Kill Tony tries to put on a pretense, like there's security letting the first guy come in, and they got to go find the first guy when the first guy's right behind the curtain. After that, Kill Tony says, everybody must be stoned or drunk, and they just start bringing him out. It's like it's a bucket pull. The kid's standing there. He's bursting through like he's coming through Johnny Carson's, curtain back there to come to his 60 seconds before the cat meows and then the hyena meows. The only thing was that Kill Tony, it didn't make any sense that he was trying to pass it off as if it was organic. He's trying to capitalize on the organic thing, all right? But he's manufacturing or he's